It is time to call the Madison School Board to order, and we will start with
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
like our eagle has one wing. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
Here.
Mrs. Scotterman.
Here.
Mr. Mosier. Here. Miss Amy Walker.
Here.
Mr. Wakeman.
Here. I need a motion to adopt our agenda.
So moved. I'll second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
Four.
Mrs. Scotterman.
Four.
Mr. Mosier. Four. Miss Amy Walker.
Four.
Mr. Wakeman.
4. We need a motion to approve our previous board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
Four.
Mr. Mosier. Four. Mrs. Scotterman. Four. Miss Amy Walker.
Four.
Mr. Wakeman.
4. We have no certificates to present tonight.
Actually, we don't have a certificate to present, but we do have a presentation.
Okay.
We've got a dignitary with us who is retiring at the end of the month, and so we want to recognize him. So, Mr. Chris, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It is a momentous occasion. William Chen, who I was introduced to as Junior Chen, and then it morphed into J.R. Chen, is retiring. After Willie the Hillbilly, so it was the original moniker that he had. But Junior J.R. has been a dream to work with, because every day he brings an extremely strong work ethic and a great attitude. And we've been with him, or he's been with us for over a decade. It's the first time I've seen him without a hat on.
That's what looks different.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
away with wearing a hat.
That's right. He's one of the good ones, and I've talked him into coming back and working with us as a seasonal worker in the summertime. I'm very happy about that, because he's a real blessing to work with. I want to congratulate him on his retirement. Wish him good luck.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks to Madison. I wish I'd have got here sooner, but I appreciate the last 10, 11 years. It was good for me.
Been
So
good
thank
for
you
us.
all.
Thank you.
Yep.
And we'll count that as recognition of our visitors who got to speak to us. I see no one else here, so we'll move on to administrative committee reports. Legislative, okay. Athletic Board of Control, nothing since last time. Student representative, we don't have them tonight.
Well, there are books there for anybody who wants to look at it from our meeting.
Oh,
And we had another one.
student representative, we don't have one tonight. Facilities,
Not a whole lot to report, Mr. President, other than the fact that we have a few small projects we're doing over Christmas break, and besides that, we're just looking toward the springtime, and we have some roof work to do again this year at the high school, and everything's going well.
good, thank you. Any board policy? Meeting, okay. Student achievement,
Okay, so a few things. At the Career Center, 2 students completed their Ohio High School Diploma Program, and one of them was from South Africa, so that was exciting. 2 students completed the 1,800-hour Advanced Cosmetology Program, and both passed the Ohio State Cosmetology and Barber Board and Advanced Cosmetology licensure exams. The Madison Adult Career Center staff and instructors contributed food, desserts, and beverages, providing an awesome Thanksgiving meal for approximately 70 enrolled students on the Tuesday evening before Thanksgiving. And along those lines, they did want to recognize some of the support staff, Jennifer Taylor, Dallas Pettit, Amy Daniels, and Andrea Garrick, recognizing that the student achievement that they have there and the needs that are being met wouldn't be possible without those people. At Eastview, they had a large group of students that tested proficient for the first round of state testing. They also had far fewer students test on a RIM for the beginning of the year. Students are completing round 2 of their iReady diagnostic testing, and they're excited to see the results. At Madison Madison South, the third grade students take both a fall and spring air ELA test. For this most recent fall air test results, students scoring proficient or higher increased by 21% compared to the previous 4-year average. At Mifflin, third grade data from the fall administration of the Ohio State test in English Language Arts showed a passage rate of 64%, which is the highest percentage for the fall that Mifflin has received since the implementation of the third grade reading guarantee. First and third graders also performed their holiday music programs, and through positive behavior choices, students earned a PBIS assembly where they were treated to magician Mike Catanzarito, who has performed for Penn and Teller. After break, students will complete mid-year diagnostic assessment using iReady for reading and math. At the high school, congratulations to Tyler Batchelor, Trenton Ford, and my printer cut out. So I'm sorry. For whatever you emailed me, I apologize. My printer did not like it. Olivia Kiley was interviewed by the Richland Source and will be featured in a student spotlight story. She painted a Christmas-themed mural on the attendance window of the high school that drew media attention. And congrats to the Academic Challenge team for winning first place in the varsity and JV division at Mid-Ohio High School Fall Academic Challenge Tournament. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent's update.
Today was the end of the second quarter, so we're at the halfway point of the school year. So interesting day today is we had a 2-hour delay on a day that we were supposed to have a 2-hour early dismissal, and our plans call for, on those days, canceling the dismissal. So we delayed and let out at the regular time. We've started on next year's school calendar, and it's just in draft form. Both unions have it in their hands and are looking at it, and they're going to get back to me early in January. So hopefully we'll have a draft of next year's calendar proposed at the January meeting. I will tell you one thing that I did put into that I'm hopeful that we can move forward with is moving our year, starting our year a week later and ending it a week later. With the way that first day falls, it just seems to be creeping further and further, and our teachers are starting like August 12th next year if we continue to go down the route we're on. So the plan is to start August 19th, and we would still finish before the end of May if we go with that. And in looking at the other piece, it's a little bit different in looking at the test schedule, which isn't out yet, but if they follow the same dates as they did this year, it looks like our spring break will be the Friday before Easter and the week after, which is different from what it is this year. I just want to publicly thank everybody who participated and helped with the Merry Madison Christmas program again this year. We had 3 teachers at the high school head that up who are graduates of Madison, so they understand the tradition with that. And I'd like to thank them, Mrs. Utt, Mrs. Old, and Mrs. Thomas, and then everybody else. So many people contribute to that. Student groups, all the buildings get involved in some way or manner, and it's just a great Madison tradition to support some of our needy students and their families at this time. The last thing I want to share with you, and you should have this up on your screen right now, and Mrs. Walker shared some of this in the student achievement report, but I just wanted to follow up with that. Our results from the fall ELA test, basically the reading state test, we did very, very well, demonstrated great improvement over both last year and 5 years ago. And the reason that 5 years ago is significant is that was our last test that was pre-COVID. And so I want to compare those results. So What I want to draw your attention to, if you look at each column, the heading of each column, starting with advanced and accelerated, so basically from left to right, advanced is the best, moving down to limited, which is not where we want our students. So what we've done is look at the 1 year and 5 year change, and the change we want to be a positive number for the advanced, accelerated, and proficient columns. We want more students to get into those categories. And then in the basic and limited, we're looking for negative numbers because we want to reduce the number of, or the percentage of students that are scoring in those categories. So if you read across the page down under the 2023 row, if you look at advanced, so our 1 year change was plus 2.73%, our 5 year change plus 2.76%. The accelerated, the 1 year change was 5.25%. The 5 year change just a little bit less than that, 5.16. And then proficient is where we got a lot more kids in the proficient category, plus 13.8%, and in the 1 year change and the 5 year change, almost an increase of 10%. And then basic, the 1 year change, we reduced that category by 6%. The 5 year change, not a whole lot of difference there, less than 1% increase. And then the real big one is moving the students out of the limited category, over 15% for 1 year and 18.5% for 5 years. So basically what we're doing is we're moving kids from limited up, by a step. And know that these aren't, each year it's a different group of kids, but we're getting more kids in the proficient plus areas and less kids in the basic and limited areas. And then if you just look at proficient plus, so that would include proficient, accelerated, and advanced. The 1 year change was almost 22% increase, and the 5 year change just under 18%. So I really want to commend all of the elementary teachers. Yes, this is a 3rd grade test, but we're educating kids starting in preschool, kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and even the 4th grade teachers play a part because of building culture and those kind of things. So I really want to commend them, our elementary principals and assistant principals, Mr. McVicker and Mrs. Neron, Mr. Turlow. Everybody plays a part in that, and we're just really happy to see the growth that took place, and looking forward to the spring results and hopefully have similar types of growth there. That concludes my report.
Cool. That's good news. Next, we have presentation from the middle school administrators.
All right. First of all, I promise you I'm losing my voice a little bit, so sorry. I was sick last year at this time as well. So our first thing is the vision statement there is building our community, creating endless opportunities, and Ram Pride. This is just a table of contents. Mr. Gibson did a really great job of doctoring this up and making it look really nice. I'm not creative at all, so he did a great job there. So the first one, we'll look at school data. So our report card from last year, our building received 4 stars overall. So it's slightly above the exceeding the minimum there, or the average for the state. For achievement, we were in 3 stars. For progress, we were in 3 stars. And for gap closing, for the 2nd year in a row, we were in 5 stars, which is great. I'm going to focus a little bit on the achievement portion tonight for our PI index. Go to the next one. So there you can see our percentages of kids that were proficient or above with the performance index. We have a few issues there, some of those specifically in mathematics, which is an issue. So a couple things that we're doing this year is we're already working to revamp the schedule for more math time next year so that we can get our kids a little bit more math than 40 minutes. We've double blocked some of our inclusion classes, which are our students with IEPs and our typical ed kids. So we've added about an 80-minute class period for each one of our 6th grade classes. We've implemented weekly reviews that all teachers are doing for all tested subjects every Monday. Everybody for each grade level has created, using state test release questions, reviews, and then they're putting those into their, we have Rams time first period. So during that time, for about 20 minutes, they get to take that, and then the teachers go over it with them, what the answers are, why those answers are that way. So you kind of get that ingrained in their head of what the test will look like. It's just more exposure to the test questions, especially ELA. Those are hard because you have long passages and the kids have to be able to read a passage here and a passage here and then comprehend. So they're just getting them into that test formation so that when we get to the state test, this is not something that is new to them. And it's something that we're going to continue to work on and fix. Also, a little bit of this has to do with a lot of new teachers in our building last school year, like 14. So that makes a big difference in teachers getting accustomed to what the content is that they're teaching and accustomed to the new grade levels and that type of thing. So there's a few indicators that why those are down, but hopefully this year we'll see an improvement.
So this is, like we said, we're at the halfway point for the year. So we compared this year's data, discipline data from last year to this point. We are significantly down in majority across the board. As you can see, the different categories you can fit your discipline into. One that we're really proud of is the truancy. Still not where we want it to be, but what we want to work on, getting kids in the building. And then the one that you can see did not go down is inappropriate behavior. We have some thoughts on that as well. And it could be reason to why their other ones are lower than what they are. We're trying to get those behaviors on the lower side of things and taken care of before it escalates into level 2 discipline referrals. And then if you look at our next slide there, we were trying to think of what are some reasons for these differences. We have a new administrative team. Students are adapting to the changes in the building and the expectations that we have set for this year. An increase on the impact that we have being in the school, around the classrooms in the building. We've made a point to go into the classrooms more, just to be visible to the kids and the teachers and the staff. Teacher buy-in, the change of the school culture, that's what we really want to focus on this year, and like we've really pushed for up to this point. And then students are more receptive when discussing like the wrongdoing and with current staff. We're working on the respectful piece for our RAMs. And then increased understanding and use of the PBIS and its framework across the board with our PBIS committee. And we're trying to shift that towards it being teacher-led as well. And then an increased parent involvement. And that's what we're working on every day with everything that we're putting in for the community. Just getting more parents into the building.
All right, firstly I want to talk about fall sports. Fall sports went really well. Football, volleyball, cross country, all had good seasons. Numbers were decent and everything. Cross country we want to get a little up. Winter sports are off to a good start. Basketball practice is going on right now. I stopped it and visited on the way in. Always had great job from Mr. JR here setting up for my events. We're going to miss him. We're going to miss him, not only the good conversations, but always things were taken care of just the way I wanted them. I'm really excited about our wrestling program this winter. We hired a recent grad to be our middle school wrestling coach, David Gilbert. He's doing a wonderful job. Numbers are up. Not sure how skilled they are, but we did have a duel with Ontario where we did very well. We even had a couple young ladies participate, and one beat a boy and one went the distance with a boy, so I was very proud of them. And, that's a new sport that's growing in Ohio. It's an official varsity sport now, so we're really trying to get more young ladies involved in wrestling. An obstacle that I've had in middle school sports, this is my 8th year doing this, is I'm just having a lot of turnover with coaches. It's not always a bad thing, sometimes it's a good thing, but just getting quality coaches who want to come out and coach and getting them through all the requirements that it takes to coach has been an obstacle. So that's something that if anybody's got, like I said, I'm really excited about David Gilbert. He's doing a great job. I want more people like that from our community, that have connections to our community, to want to help us out at the middle school level, and of course, eventually at the high school level. Our Builders Club is doing a wonderful job. Mrs. Studer, our 5th grade teacher, for those who don't know her, is doing a great job running our Builders Club. She's come to me with a lot of ideas. One idea that she's done, I got a little ahead of myself. The Donuts and Divas, I don't know if you guys have ever driven past our parking lot in the mornings where we have those, but our parking lot is overflowing with the people who come into our building. It's been a really positive thing where we've got to do some things with parents who they might not get to come to our building for a lot of positive things, but they're in there for that, bright and early in the morning. And what I love is there's nowhere to park because people are everywhere, and it's a nice positive program. Another thing she's done really well is she's come to me and said, hey, can Builders Club come to a game and, and have a cheering section and do all that? And I said, yeah, that's a great idea. We'll talk more about that in the video. But I'm also looking forward to, we have 2 planned, one for girls basketball and one for boys basketball coming up. Go ahead.
Doesn't look like that video's gonna play.
Oh, it's not going to play, darn it.
Sorry.
Well, I'll just summarize what was in the video. It just talked about what Builders Club does and well, talk about how they it's got kids talking, which would have been much better than me, but and how excited they are to attend these events.
We invited kids to come, but their heads about spun off when it was the first day of Christmas break. So that's not something that any of them wanted to do.
One of the most visible changes in our building this year, besides me stepping out of the health classroom into the office, we have a lot of student council donated signs and motivational pieces around our building. As you can see there from the images, those are around. If you come through the middle school, you'll see them all over the place now, from the gym to the hallways, and we really are happy with how that turned out. And they also came in with progress book training for parents and grandparents in the area when we have our open house. So that was good. Our student council had it set up for parents that don't have really either their progress book accounts even set up, or they just need a little extra assistance on how can I check my students' grades. So we had a lot of success with that as well. And then one new thing we have is the pop-in and the conferences. So if your student comes in, phone call, email with their teachers and their teams regarding their grades or their behavior in class, they received a can of pop or water the next day of school, and that was a big motivational piece for our students, and especially when you're like, oh, why didn't I get one of those candy pop? So that's why we're hoping to get a little bit more student buy-in and parent buy-in for our next open house night.
So one of my goals when I took over this position was to start a PTO in our building, and we are moving quickly with that. It's a very long process to become a 501(c)(3). So we are working through that. We have elected our officers for this year. We have several teachers that have offered to be the teacher representatives. We have our first meeting in January, so we're moving along. We did a building fundraiser with the winter flowers, and that was a really large thing. They all came in and set it all up. They took care of getting it to the parents. They did the emailing. They've been very great. They've also offered to help at bingo and do some other things. So I'm really excited to get this going. When we first posted it, we had about 3 people that said, yeah, we'll help. And I was a little defeated. But now we're up to 18. So I'm trending in the right direction of what we're looking to start and what we're trying to do, which is building a culture and community in our building. That was something I feel like was not a huge thing when we came in. So I'm really excited about the way we're going on that. So that is one of our big goals that we're working through right now is the PTO. And then the other big goal for us is community involvement. So some of the events that we've done was the trunk or treat. I don't know if any of you drove by on the trunk or treat. Mr. Peterson made sure to call me that night to let me know what his thoughts were because we had over 2,000 people come through. Not all from Madison, but we had a ton of, and it was a very positive thing. We paired with the high school and we used their National Honor Society and a couple of other groups. They came and were with the kids and they were dressing up. All the trunks were my staff at the building. I had staff that couldn't be there, so they donated like 65 bags of candy. Mr. Andrus kept running to and from the store to get more candy because we just kept running out. So we're going to have to plan a little bit better for that next year. We didn't realize we would have that many people. But we had a ton of really positive from that, how excited they were that we were doing that and how cool it was that it was the teachers from that building. So something that was really positive. Another thing that we did was we started coffee with the principals. We haven't talked to a ton of people. We've been going to Pump and Grind one Saturday a month, and we're there. Mr. Gibson and I are there for 2 hours. Mr. Keppel usually has an athletic event, so he's not there. But we're there for about 2 hours. Some people come and we talk to them. Some people don't come. Sometimes we talk to people not anything about school, but we're talking about who knows what's going on. But we're making those connections, which is something that I would enjoy doing. So we're going to continue those. Some of the outside services that we have for our students, we have a lot of students with a lot of needs, especially right now. Social emotional health is important, and it's a very real thing that affects our kids. So we have family life counseling, Casey, which is the community action for capable youth. That has to do with our character education classes and some of the drug and alcohol prevention things that they have. Catalyst Life Services, and then Mr. Keppel is in charge of our Vape Educate at the middle school. For students who get caught vaping or have a vape at school, they can go through an educational process to reduce their suspension, but hopefully then they learn a little bit about why vaping is not something they should be doing. And then one of our big upcoming events is Night at the Middle School, which is our second night of conferences. We're going to have art projects and choirs and food trucks and all the things happening to get our community involved. And even if you're not a student at the middle school, please come and check it out. Come to the food truck and get dinner that night, whatever you want to do to get out and just kind of be involved in our community. So that's something that's a real focus for us. And then an update on Mary Madison. This was the first year we raised a little over $2,500 to use for Mary Madison. So we got to do about $250 per kid when we went shopping. And my staff went out that night and we all went together and did that. So that was exciting. It was kind of a team builder for us too. So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Great report. Okay, at this time, I need a motion to accept a donation of $3,115.38 from the Sons and Daughters of Herman to pay off negative lunch balances. Does that pay off all of the balances?
All of them at Eastview, yes.
At Eastview, okay. Wow. Motion? Discussion? Roll call.
Miss Amy Walker.
4.
Mrs. Cotterman. Mrs. Melissa Walker.
4.
Mr. Moser. 4. Mr. Wigton.
4. Next, we need a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll second.
Discussion.
All right. For the month of November, expenses are still exceeding revenues for the fiscal year, so we're still in deficit spending, but we're going to be until we get the first real estate settlement from our new levy. But on a positive note, at the same point in time last year, we're $700,000 better off. I mean, last year, at the end of November, that deficit was 1.7 million. This year, it's only 1 million. So we are, I mean, the changes that were made are in the right direction. And in addition to that, or to springboard off of that, revenues are up about 5% overall fiscal year to date, and expenditures are only up a total of 0.4% fiscal year to date. So the reason that being is not because expenses haven't gone up, it's because we've made significant reductions and cuts and operated more efficiently. When you do look at the expenditures, there is one that just stands and glares out to you as an increase, and that's purchase services. But when you dig into that, you know, over $100,000 of that is not, it's not accurate to say that that's an increase in expense, because there's this thing called E-rate. An E-rate is a reimbursement for our technology, for our internet and that service. Mr. McVickers applied for E-rate. He's followed up with him. For whatever reason, it could be something with one of our vendors, it could be the fact that we changed from NCOCC to NeoNet, it could be any reason, but it's still in review. So as soon as that is released, you know, that will come down over, you know, $115,000. The other thing is, you know, I looked, our Frontline, which is a service that we use to call substitute teachers, that's up over $12,000. Our emotionally disturbed consultants are up about 13. Psych services are up almost 20. OT and PT are up almost 20. Speech therapy's up almost 36. Those are services we can't do away with. We can't stop. We can't help. I talked with Mr. McVicker and Ms. Neron this afternoon, and you know, not only do we have more students that need those services, the other addition is, you know, after COVID, the people that come to school for those kind of therapies also could go to hospitals, can go to nursing homes. So those companies that do service the schools have to be competitive to keep the people certified to do those jobs. Well, they're not going to eat the cost of having to pay more for those individuals. They pass it on. So, you know, it's not like the purchase services are up because we're choosing to do things or doing things inefficiently. They're up because it's the nature of the business and cost of doing business. Yeah, it's inflation. So that's it. I did put the forecast analysis back on, and it's going to be a little skewed just because, you know, like for the current property tax, at this point in time last year we had 39%. This year we're only at 32%. Well, that's because in the new forecast I have the new levy put in. So there's just some small things like that that are changing, but I put that back in. The next thing is I'm recommending to enter into a photocopier lease with Modern Office Methods. Mr. McVicker, Mr. Strom, and I have been working on this for well over a year. In June, our contract is up with the current photocopier lease company, ComDoc, and we looked at ways to, you know, improve the service that we're getting and, you know, just keep it as local as we can. One of the issues we've had with ComDoc was when MT Business sold out, ComDoc's no longer in the area, and we'd had quite a bit of trouble with service. Modern Office Methods and Perry are both in the area. In fact, Modern Office Methods has the sales team, 2 of the 3, you know, graduated from here, have kids that go here. They have family members that work here, family members that own businesses in Madison. And there's 2 different quotes, and they were less expensive than Perry. So I'm recommending that the school use the Modern Office Methods for the photocopy machine. That would would take effect over the summer. They would change the photocopiers out in the summer, and that way when the teachers come back, they'd have new machines, and then during their first, you know, day of in-service, Modern Office Methods can train them to whatever new devices are. Do you guys have any questions on either the financial report or the recommendation for entering into a lease agreement with Modern Office Methods? Okay.
Yeah. Roll call.
Mr. Mosier? 4. Mrs. Melissa Walker?
4.
Mrs. Cotterman?
4.
Miss Amy Walker?
4.
Mr. Wiggins?
4. Our strategic plan.
We will not have that tonight. Mrs. Cox is one of the co-chairs of that group, and she has been out sick for about 3 weeks now. So keep her in your thoughts and prayers. We'll hopefully have her back shortly after we come back from break.
Okay.
And we'll reschedule this for another one.
Okay. Matters related to personnel, I need a motion to accept.
So,
Second.
second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Melissa Walker?
4.
Miss Amy Walker?
4.
Mr. Mosier? 4. Mrs. Cotterman?
4.
Mr. Wiggins?
4. Next is superintendent's business. I need a motion to accept.
So,
Second,
I'll second.
discussion.
Nothing to discuss.
Okay.
Mr. Moser?
four.
Mrs. Melissa Walker?
Four.
Mrs. Cotterman?
Four.
Miss Amy Walker?
Four.
Mr. Wickton?
4. Okay, under visitor comments. Still seeing no visitors. Under president's business, our organizational meeting is going to be Wednesday, January 10th at 6 o'clock. And then we will determine from that meeting when we will be meeting as a board. At this time, we need to appoint a president pro tem to run that organizational meeting. So we need a nomination. I'll run the meeting. What the heck? Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay. Guess that's our discussion. Roll call.
Miss Amy Walker?
Four.
Mr. Moser?
Four.
Mrs. Cotterman?
Four.
Mrs. Melissa Walker?
Four.
Mr. Wickton?
4. And I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Moser? Four. Mrs. Melissa Walker?
Four.
Mrs. Cotterman?
Four.
Miss Amy Walker?
Four.
Mr. Wickton?
4. All righty.